Hello everybody and welcome back. In the previous lesson, we learned how to register new users using Django's built-in tools. Now in this lesson, we will take the next logical step and learn how users can log in and log out of a Django application. We'll understand how Django handles authentication behind the scenes, and then we'll walk through a complete worked out example where logged out users see login and register links, and logged in users see a personalized welcome message and a logout option. By the end of this lesson, you will clearly understand how login sessions work in Django and how to control what users see based on their login status. So let's get started. Now that we have learned how to register users in Django, the next essential feature is login and logout. Login is a process of verifying a user's username and password. If the credentials are correct, Django logs the user in and starts a session. Logout simply ends that session, so the user is no longer authenticated. Now the good news is that Django provides built-in forms and functions for all of this, so we don't have to reinvent anything. Now login and logout are critical for any real-world application. Login allows us to protect pages, personalize content, and track who is doing what. Logout is equally important because it ends the user session, prevents unauthorized access if someone leaves the system open, and Django handles all of this using its session framework. Now just like registration, Django gives us a ready-made form for login, which is called the authentication form. Now this form already includes username field, password field, and validation logic. It checks whether the entered credentials match a registered user in the database. So again, we don't need to build any custom validation logic here. Now to log a user in, Django provides two important functions. First is authenticate and then login. Authenticate checks if the username and password are correct, and login actually starts the user's session. In practice, we usually don't call authenticate directly when using authentication form. The form already does that internally for us. Now let's head over to the CodeChef platform and take a worked out example and see this login and logout in action using Django's built-in tools. So here I am on the CodeChef platform and we have a worked out example called login logout with conditional welcome message. And if you look at the file explorer, you can see that we have a project called my project and an app called my app. And we have the corresponding views.py file of the app. And also we have some templates called base, home, and login, which are present under this templates folder. And then we also have the urls.py file of the app and the project. So first, let's take a look at the views.py file that we have here. So here, since we are going to make use of Django's built-in tools for authentication, make sure that you import the authentication form over here in the beginning. And also make sure we import authenticate, login, and logout. So all these imports has to be done prior to writing all the views. Okay, now let us look at these views one by one. First of all, we just have a home view which renders the home.html page. And then here we have this login view. So let's see what this login view does. First, we check if the request is a post request, which means the user has submitted the login form. Now, if it is a post request, we create the authentication form using the submitted data that the user has submitted. Then we validate the form. If it is valid, then we get the user object and then we call the login by passing the request and user to start the session. And finally, we redirect the user to the home page. Now this else part is for the get request. So if the request is get, we simply show the empty login form. Now in both cases, we render login.html and pass the form to the template. And similarly, we have this logout view where we are just calling the logout function by passing the request, which is Django's built-in logout function that we have, and we are just redirecting them to the home page. And then we have this register placeholder view, which is just a placeholder which I will be showing you when we run the program. Alright, then we have this base.html template, which is a template from which all the styles and everything is inherited, and we have this welcome message saying hello username, and then the logout link, the login link, the register link, all are there in this base.html template. And we also have this home.html template which extends the base.html, and it just says welcome to the home page, and it will inherit everything from the base.html that we saw. And then we have this login.html template. So this also extends the base.html template, and here you can see that this is a very simple login template. We render the form using the form.as_p, which automatically displays the username and password fields. And if the form has errors, meaning the credentials were incorrect, we show a friendly error message. Now Django automatically handles the error detection for us. Now we also have the URL configurations in the apps urls.py file. You can see here for the login, logout and register, which calls the respective views, and this is the urls.py file of the project where we are just including the apps urls.py file here. Okay, so these are basically all the files and the code that we have. So let me run and show you how it works. So here, in order to log in and log out, we also need to have a user registered. So for that, what happens is when I click on the run button, it is configured in such a way that it will make all the migrations, and it will create a super user with the username chef and this email ID called chef@codechef.com and the password chefpass@123. Okay, so you can also do this in the terminal manually by yourself if you want, but clicking on the run button is already configured to do all this. So we are doing this because we need a registered user in order to check the login and logout functionality that we have. Okay, so let me click on the run button, which will perform all these. So you can see here it was saying that the super user chef is created successfully. Okay, and you can see that our home page is loaded. So let me open this in a new tab and show you. Alright, so here you can see we have login and register. If I click on register, it says this is a placeholder, register functionality goes here. So this is the placeholder view that I showed you in the views.py file, and we are just having this because we are not providing the register functionality here. We have already learned how to register users in the previous lesson. So here we are not including it again, and we have just created the user using the super user command that I have shown you. So we already have a user with that username. Okay, now let's try the login. So when I click on login, it asks for the username. So if you remember, the username was chef and the password was chefpass@123. So if I click on login here, you can see that it says hello chef. So it is a personalized message. The name of the user is displayed here, and it says welcome to the home page. So we can see that the login has worked successfully, and with the chef's account we are able to come to the home page successfully. Now we also have this logout button. So if I click on the logout button, you can see that the user is logged out again, and we again have this login and register option. So if I try to log in, let's say with a wrong username, let's say I say Jason and some password, and if I click on login, it says invalid login, please try again, because we did not have any user with this username and password. So here we see that the login and logout has worked successfully as expected, and we see that we did not create any separate forms, we did not write any validation logic or anything. Just by using Django's built-in tools, which is the authentication form, we are able to achieve this login and logout very easily and very powerfully in Django. In this lesson, we learned how user authentication works in Django using its built-in tools. We saw how to log users in using Django's authentication form, how Django manages sessions behind the scenes, and how to log users out securely. We also implemented a complete worked out example where the home page changes dynamically based on whether the user is logged in or logged out. Now, I strongly recommend that you run this project on the CodeChef platform and also try the practice problem that is associated with this problem. I will see you in the next one.